And waiting. There we go. All right. Hello, everybody who is not yet here. Hello, everybody who's watching the recording afterwards, I guess. Take a look here. Look who has everything already. There's Epic Pen, already set up and open like an actual professional. Let's go into the control room and get all this set up. Switch this to live. The only parts I don't have control over are having to wait for that nonsense to load. Why is it just showing a black screen? Come on, show the actual. There we go. Okay. If anybody who's already here or watching the recording afterwards and isn't familiar with this already, this is the NOAA Bathymetric Data Viewer. It's a Google Earth alternative in our case specifically, because Google Earth always causes the stream to glitch and lag out. This is kind of like Google Earth, but specifically for the ocean. It's it's a giant online map compiled of all the different oceanic seafloor soundings with like high res details. Some areas more than others because very large surveys specifically were done there, especially like this area, which is the result of the search back in 2011 for Air France 447. But it does show the lands, borders, and geographic details to some extent. So we used as a replacement for Google Earth. See, anybody's here? Not yet. I don't have everything bookmarked in a proper order, so I'm just gonna have to come up with stuff on the fly. So I guess while waiting for everyone to show up, a few random oil and gas stuff to fill in the time. So in some of the last little bit of Angola's offshore space out here, coming out from their little exclave in Cabinda, one last little field out there got activated a few days ago, and that will be bumping them up by about 25,000 barrels per day, which is not a lot comparatively. As you can see, if you're not familiar yet, you can go to any of my videos from the last 2 years or so, go down to the description or the description of this stream, actually, and go to the free access drive. We can get all kinds of different graphs and stuff that I maintain and update for free. They're free to access, no paywall. I specifically started doing this so that everyone will always have access to something outside of a paywall because all the official sites are starting to put up paywalls. As always, use TD Economics for an example. They still let you see up to 10 years for free, but if you try to go past that, you hit the paywall. What we're we looking at, yeah, Angola. So Angola was holding out at around 1.1 for a while, and they've hit their decline further, and they were going just under 1. So this will stall them, keep them up at about 1 for another few months before the rest of the decline continues weighing them down. And I think it's working out that the next level off they should have, the next holdout area, should be between 800 and 900,000 barrels per day, but we'll see. And also, as we continue waiting for more people to show up, the one other major oil update is I did not see the location, so I'll just draw a random X. Another extension on one of the large oil fields offshore Brazil just activated a few days ago, and that will be jumping Brazil up by another 180,000 barrels per day over the first half of this year. So that will see Brazil go even further up above the 4.03 that it's currently at, up to just over 4.2 million barrels per day for its maximum cap. It will frequently be below that, though, because of fields here and there, obviously being shut down for prolonged maintenance, but pushing its maximum cap up to over 4.2 million barrels per day. And the one other non-major events thing is here in the Congo, the bigger unstable Congo, finally getting access to higher levels of revenue than just selling the raw metals and ores themselves, as a 500,000 ton or 500,000 ton per year copper refinery, copper smelter has just started up operations there. So they'll be earning, at least from their copper mining, they'll be starting to earn uh, an order of magnitude higher revenue than just selling copper ore itself. And this comes on top of expanding operations of copper smelters around the world, as operations have been expanded at some already existing ones in different countries, and new ones have been getting opened up, including Congo, India, although India doesn't mine a lot of copper. They don't have a lot domestically. They import the ore, but they have opened up a large new smelting and refining capacity, along with I think like over 1 million tons of capacity in Indonesia. And this is part of the global copper industries. Uh, this has been part of their forewarned, as most governments would have told them years in advance to get to work on it. This is part of their work to move at least some decent portion of copper refining capacity out of China, where a lot of it has been. But an overwhelming majority does not actually need to be moved out of China, because remember, a huge chunk of the global demand itself is from China. All right, so all that's happening. I'll be getting to the Iran stuff. Don't worry. You guys synced? We both synced here. Yes. Okay, looks like it. All right, so I'm about to start the heavier stuff. One last thing. Remember, blah blah blah. There's the Patreon map, where depending on your Patreon tier or how much one-time stuff you send through PayPal or whatever, you can get labeled for some period of time as one of the specific oil exporters. But there's also the safe from the apocalypse map, because I realized, I used to, when I was on my own back up home in Alaska, be able to live off of only about 8 grand a year. And there's a little over 8 billion people on the planet. So we convert it to like $1 per 1 million people. That works out rather nicely. We'll see if we can actually get to a point one year where we can theoretically save the entire world from the apocalypse. But uh, cheating a bit for 2026 and counting the Patreon revenue, at least from December of that just ended of the previous year, then that's about $40, down from, I think the highest I ever had monthly was 80 from Patreon specifically, but that's down to about $40. So that's 40 million. Alaska home gets thrown in by default because of favoritism, but that works out enough to also save the entirety of Angola and Namibia. I picked at random, and also because the math worked out. All right, hold on. Get one of my keys on the keyboard is loose. Let me reestablish it. There we go. Okay. Uh, so we have the ongoing. Where did Epic Pen go? Where's Epic Pen? There we go. Then delete. Then select. Then we come back, and it works. Okay. So alongside the ongoing, this is mega Taiwan invasion practice round number 7 on China's part, along with videos emerging of them semi quietly starting to move more stuff, including ballistic missiles, from decently inland towards the coast. We also had Xi's big New Year speech. Did I not bookmark that? Oh, there it is. Where he spent a good time of the speech letting you know himself directly, as he already has multiple times, that uh, yeah, they are going to do it. He spent a huge portion of that speech going on and on about how this is destiny. Taiwan will rejoin China. It's inescapable and inevitable destiny. So, just so you know, he's telling you yourself to your face, or he's telling you himself to your face that yeah, they're gonna do it. And also at the same time, kind of random, but their newest approach to to trying to boost their fertility rate. We have those graphs too. So come out here. I doubt anyone's unfamiliar with it by this point, but uh, no wait, on the outer labeling it should still just say China. It's in character on the internal title. So their uh, their birth rate is down to 0.98 children per woman, and they've been desperately trying to get it to go back up ever since the mid 2010s when it was still actually up close to 2. And their approaches have included things like uh, saying, making it legal to have more than one child. Now, suddenly making it legal to have more than one child after making it illegal for like 50 years, surprise that didn't really do anything. So then they tried making it legal to have 3 children! Exclamation point. That didn't really work either. So then they tried the Russian approach and offered big dollar signs. Not really that much. Equivalently, when values are converted for, I think it's the full term is purchasing power parity, but you can just say parity to abbreviate it. Accounting for the currency exchange and the equivalent like values and costs of things in China, it worked out to equating to U.S. Standard costs and stuff, the equivalent of offering a couples an extra $200 a month, I think it was, and that didn't really do anything. So now they're trying a different approach. They're going back to heavy-handedness to see if that works by taxing. They're going to tax condoms heavily, like most countries, tax alcohol and cigarettes. They're going to put a big heavy tax on condoms and just hope that that boosts the fertility rate. I guess it won't. That's not how it. That's not. That's what are we doing? What are we doing anymore? Come on, people. All right, check chat frequently, like a responsible streamer. All right. Commentary, not question. I'm getting to the Iran stuff, so your question will be addressed, I promise. Some minor stuff in the Middle East. Israel has been bombing Lebanon for the past week. Not really anything else coming back from the other side. Hezbollah is not really launching off any rocket barrages or anything. They barely have anything left to begin with. But what little they have scattered around, the IDF has been bombing for the last week. So that is going on. And not minor news in terms of severity, but in terms of like geopolitical conflict, the the like actual combat in Gaza is not really around anymore. What is there, however, is ongoing mass death from starvation, medical supply deprivation, and now hypothermia, as Israel, at least, the general and the other general Levant area, does actually see cooler temperatures in the winter. It's not like Saudi Arabia or anything. So it's not like in the summer it's 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and in the winter it's 110 degrees Fahrenheit. That's partially a joke. It does get all the way down to only 90 degrees Fahrenheit in Saudi Arabia in the winter, except in the mountains. But it actually goes down. Apparently, on some nights it was down to like 40 Fahrenheit. And since, there's no real structures left or heating of any kind except like literal fires lit, hundreds of people, uh, this week and that week have been dropping dead from hypothermia. So all the ongoing mass death and the, kind of halted childbirth since everything started in the intense phase at the very end of 2023. Uh, Not like a crash to zero, but it's more like a half cut in terms of like people having children in Gaza. The idea now seems to be to keep this going for a while and let the population like death wither down to a lower level. It's already been, covertly admitted by just Freudian slips several times by both the US and Israel that there's now no longer 2.5 million people in Gaza. There is less than 2 million, and that was like 6 months ago. So I guess the Israeli government's approach now seems to be to just keep the situation as is and let everything spiral downwards until I guess the population is at a low enough level that the number of people would be acceptable for somebody. Egypt, Somaliland has been people's suspicion because of the recognition thing. Jordan, Libya, who knows? Until it's a low enough level for where somebody might accept the remaining Gazan population getting evicted and dumped off on them. At least that's the general outlook of where this current approach seems to be going. They could 180 it and just start like carpet bombing again, for all I know. But as of the time being, that seems to be the general aim. And also, guys, remember from a few days ago, we had the clash between Saudi Arabia and the UAE in Yemen, where Saudi Arabia actually directly bombed UAE ships, not military ships, but cargo ships. Supposedly, the UAE has backed down and withdrawn military and non military personnel and equipment from Yemen and is just going to leave it for Saudi Arabia to do whatever in, and also indirectly then leave Saudi Arabia to continue taking the global and Islamic world flack for, you know, now a decade straight, actually 11 years straight of bombing hospitals and playgrounds and everything. Let's see, was there anything else minor in the Middle East region or in the North African region? I don't think so. Okay. Chat like a responsible streamer. Uh, Policies that would actually boost fertility rates. I did a video on that. Uh, I'm not going to go, I'm sorry, I'm not going to try to rethink that script and recite all like 20 minutes of it now, but you can go watch that if you want to. But keep in mind, if you go to watch it, hold on, where is it? Oh man, was it that long ago? Yeah, yeah. There's me as a kid, and that's my mom and dad in the Air Force. I was like 3 in that picture. So that was 1996 at Otis Air Force Base. So that is the that was the best layout I could give you of things that a government could do that would still be uh moral and not demonic. There's like restoring the raw like purchasing power of the couple or three post-war decades in the US, especially after World War II, and the ease of back then, especially getting houses, because people seem to have forgotten that part. That for a time, yes, actually, housing in the U.S. to an extent, for married couples intending to start families at least, was kind of free post-war for many years because you would get a heavily discounted loan, especially for dudes who had been in the military in World War II, and they even kind of continued it, I think, for a lot from Korea as well. And it was worded in such a way so that if you it would be at a really low interest rate, and after you paid off like 10% of it, it would just like get canceled. So, the whole kind of just giving young families a house, that did tend to work, actually. It really kind of does. If you remove one big thing, if you remove uh, one of the numerous swords of Damocles that hang over everyone's head, the number of which has grown in present day, uh, just different from what they used to be. But if you remove one of the big ones from above people's head, that does tend to produce an actual effect. But once we hit the late 70s and then the 80s, that effect kind of ended, and other, beneficial policies in the US at least, and actually I think the UK started doing away with stuff around the same time, were gradually eroded and done away with, and thus we came to the point we are now. But there's only so much as a government that you can do, and it all has to be aimed specifically at making it a lot easier to raise and particularly pay for children or having children. Uh, you know, adding an extra $5 tax onto every condom you purchase isn't going to make people have more kids. Like if you stack the expenses up like that to where over a long period of time it would equate to the cost of the surgery, all that might do in the long term is just like encourage men and women to just like get sterilization surgeries, or the tube tying for girls, or the pipeline scissor cut for dudes. Like all that's honestly what might happen if you try the whole make condoms more expensive approach. Is you just might encourage people to just go for the surgery from the beginning. Also, general a general thing that would help is in China and Russia's case in particular, not being a draconian boot down to the neck super omni surveillance oppression regime and not making any potential mothers, have to have to grapple with the idea that any male children in particular they might have are going to just get sent in like death waves in some desperate attempt to reclaim former imperial glory from 100 years ago. But everyone seems to be spiraling into attempting to reclaim the glory of their former empires. So that aspect of negative pressure pushing fertility rates down is not going to be going away in the immediate future, it would seem at least. Okay, now for one of the big ones. See different. Nobody dies in these that I'm aware of, so I can play them. Let me mute first. There we go. So yeah, protests of different sizes across different areas in Iran have erupted over the last week or so. Uh, in some places, they were just marching, and then they started getting beaten by the cops. In other places, they started setting stuff on fire. And, excuse me, I muted you. And in some cities, actually, in some cities, the internal security forces have fled the city, and the general population of the city has actually kind of just seized complete control. So you're gonna, why do you not carry the mute over? This was people, all right, this looks like, yeah, this was people relocating after getting tear gassed. Oh, also, at the same time, we were already planning to do another air campaign against Iran, anyways. The IDF doing most of it, but Trump apparently, I guess, said that if Iran starts shooting the protesters, which they have always done in the past, then we are going to start bombing. So I guess that's probably just seizing the moment. Like this is now happening like right at the same time we were considering when to start a new campaign. And since this started happening, you know, grab the opportunity while it's there and use this as like as the publicly provided political launch point reasoning for the why as to this time, since the reasoning last time was to stop Iran from getting nukes, and after the U.S. and Israel repeatedly claimed that the whole nuclear program was destroyed. Now, uh, if you want to care about the public facing angle, then you still need to provide another reason. The initial reason was in response to something Iran is doing, but whether it was just an exercise or not, no one knows for sure. Iran had a couple weeks ago, before all the protests started moving a bunch of military equipment, including some of its remaining non-destroyed ballistic missile launchers, out into out into field positions. So, not sure whether they were actually going to do anything with those, but the fact that they were suddenly maneuvering a bunch of those, that was initially being presented as the reason for why the IDF and U.S. Air Force were about to do another bombing campaign. But it looks like the U.S. administration now is going to use the helping the protesters angle. let's see, that was blah blah blah, and Iran, of course, threatened that if the U.S. airstrikes anywhere in Iran, then Iran will attack U.S. bases again, which didn't really manage to do anything last time. A few ballistic warheads got through on one of the bases in Qatar, but they didn't really damage anything of importance or kill anybody. And what Iran has left to work with is not exactly as numerous or as impressive as it had at the start, especially back before the 2 week war in June. But supposedly, they'll launch a massive missile retaliation wave if either of us or both of us do something. We'll have to see. Here's some mute. I muted you. Ooh, there's a good wall to wall each side of the street crowd in whatever was this. Okay, this was Tehran. All right, and this was okay. Now we're getting back to a few days ago. Mute. Oh yeah, this one was where they actually chased some of the internal security forces because they got sent to this one university campus to start arresting the protesters, but then kind of like the whole student body of the university all just kind of came out of the buildings and just like charged the security forces, and they were forced to flee. And there's plenty of other videos. This one was mute, please. I don't know where this is. It's some large open square. Damn, in some directions, it looks like it's almost a quarter mile wide, but it's packed with people. I don't know where it is specifically, so don't ask me in that regard. Another wall-to-wall street here. So those are ongoing, and the specific reasoning of why they started these ones is primarily because of inflation and water deprivation, plus power cutoffs in the summer, both last summer, the summer before, and the summer before that, and heating issues in the winter, which have already started again this year. So in Iran, prices of everything have gone up by about 2 times over just the last 2 years, while wages have not followed at the same pace. So, if you can imagine everything, either your rent or mortgage, whichever you personally have, your electric bill, uh, your fuel price, the price of every food item at the store, if you can honestly imagine with your wage, whatever your salary currently is, not changing, literally everything now costing 2 times more in a immediately short time span like that, that doesn't work out. And and also the power and heating deprivation that comes from the fact that because most of Iran's oil fields are very old, a lot of them Iran started producing back in the 1920s. They have to re-inject a lot of natural gas to keep them pressurized because they don't have the water extraction infrastructure from the Persian Gulf to water pressurize them. So they put natural gas back in to pressurize them, which leaves deficits during high demand periods, like in the summer when it's really hot and electricity demand is really high. And so that has led to power grid failures and thus issues at hospitals and with cooling systems across uh, different parts of the country in all kinds of buildings, which has led to many heat deaths over the past few summers and heating issues in the winter as not enough gas gets delivered for heating during the colder periods. And so that's resulted in a lot of hypothermia deaths. Particularly, those have been concentrated in the Azeri portion of Iran, which is this portion up here. So there is some ethnic targeting going on in the choices of who does and doesn't get their natural gas supply, and also now water, as Iran is hitting the point where numerous areas of the country are hitting the bottom out of their aquifers. Iran is about 60% dependent on groundwater, which is stored water in aquifers that fell as rain ages ago. And many regions have already hit the lowest reaches, and it's going to continue cascading as some of the more densely populated and densely flatter agricultural areas, those up there, start hitting the end of their aquifer viabilities within the next 2 to 3 years specifically. But this is already happening, and they're having in the same way that South Africa has rolling blackouts or power electricity rationing cycles across different regions. Iran has been starting to have cycles like that, but with water access across the day. And in some areas, it's more like, okay, this area gets to have water on these days of the week, and this area over here gets to have it on these days of the week. So all these things combined have the people of Iran very, very angry, and they are correct in being so. So now that has led to what you see. So uh, cannot it, that is one thing I won't touch with any degree of certainty as to whether like this uprising will suddenly be the one that makes all the guys flee to Russia. What am I doing? Why did that switch over? Stay on marker. Because they've had different levels before. I mean, the ones in 2009 were huge. There were like 2 million people like on the streets, but the government just shot a bunch of them. They shot a few thousand, and then everyone kind of gave up. So I don't know if this will be the time where they don't just give up, and when the security forces start like mowing into them, they instead do like Hunger Games Mockingjay style, just like respond by then charging at them, because they'll run out of ammo after only a few seconds, and they're going to have to reload. And since usually the gap between the police line in not just in Iran but anywhere when this kind of stuff happens, the gap between the police line and the giant mass of humans tends to not, it's not exactly like, hundreds of yards wide. It tends to be very short. So, it would only really take one go at it. And enough people would probably cover that distance within that time frame that it takes the security forces to have to suddenly reload their AKs. Because remember, real life is not Call of Duty. Real life is not Halo, even though there's no AKs in Halo. You don't in those games, like the reloading is like out and in, out and in. Like the character literally like pulls out the one clip and jams in the next and pulls the mechanism in like half a second. That is not what actually happens with real people using real rifles. Oh, dang. Thank you. That is larger than I was expecting to ever see. Okay, not ever see. I've seen a few of those before, but usually it's a Norwegian, because they're all loaded on their oil money. You're not Norwegian by any chance, are you? Uh, Sanktirov. Uh, at the moment, at the moment, I would not say so because of the setup. So after the two Chechen wars, Chechnya is this rough area here. After the two Chechen wars, Putin managed to arrange a nice setup in that the Kadyrov family, whoever heads it at any given time, gets suitcases full of cash, and in return, Chechnya does not leave Russia, and instead, everyone kneels and pledges fealty to their Russian feudal lords. And I mean, whichever son, I guess, is taking over, would I don't see unless whatever son is like next in line legitimately, unless he is like a real Islamic extremist, if unless he's like an actual believer, unlike Kadyrov, because Putin's money is what Kadyrov's religion is. Uh, unless his son is like some kind of super believer in both Islam and in separatism, then I don't see why his son would not just keep taking that money. But if because I'm not familiar with the family outside of Kadyrov, so forgive me for that. If the son is like an extremist, either for separatism or just for Islam, and or he's both, then maybe. Also, I don't know how many sons or children he has. If there's multiple, then maybe there's a chance there might be like a successor to Alexander the Great situation, and like there might be internal issues within Chechnya, not like a separation from Russia, but there might like be internal conflicts. Like the Chechen forces themselves might like the Greek army did after Alexander died. They might, I don't know, spread amongst different loyalties to different children of Kadyrov. But I don't know how many children he has or how many sons specifically. If there is one like solid person who's supposed to take over after him, if that's kind of well and accepted, then I don't really see why they wouldn't just keep taking the money. I mean, there's in the since the war started, at least, there's been more issues in terms of separatism and refusal to keep sending young men to die from Dagestan, actually, than there has from Chechnya. Again, for anyone unfamiliar with the map, this is Dagestan, this is Chechnya, and then there's a bunch of other little republics kind of similarly along the Caucasus there. But the number, uh, the Russian government actually decreased the number of dudes that it's been drawing from Dagestan since the start of the war, because they did not want that resistance situation to get out of control. So Dagestan has not like actually escaped it, but they've escaped it to a certain degree. They're not proportionally having as many men sent off to die as they were in the first year. Well, since we're on Kazakhstan, thank you very much for the $20. Let's go to the uh, yearly Save the World map. For anyone who's not familiar with this, who wasn't here at the start, apart from the Patreon tiers oil exporters map that people can get their names slapped on, since I used to, when I was back up home in Alaska, be able to live off of about 8 grand a year, I decided to start doing a yearly map thing where since there's about 8 billion people, that works out to $1 per million people on the planet. So every dollar, gets to save about a million people from the apocalypse uh, at my arbitrary designation. Since we were just looking at Kazakhstan, it has about 20 million, and that guy just gave $20. There we go. Kazakhstan is safe from the apocalypse for this year. So far, we got home, Alaska, obviously. Wish I was back there with you guys, Nick, Kayla, Dan, Casey. I miss that place. I miss my free public transit and my free heating and my free water and free internet and almost free healthcare. Man, it was awesome living in a state that actually has money and that is a conservative Christian in a way that actually follows the teachings of Christ as opposed to like the American South. But that's neither here nor there. And also Angola and Namibia, because that combo was just how the $40 from monthly bucks from Patreon for December worked out. And then for countries with larger populations, I kind of left the states in to do like state by state stuff. There we go. Let's update that. Let's see. There was that stuff. China. Uh, real quick. Then I'll look at chat again before we go to regular Russia Ukraine. And we lost. We lost it again. Here we go. £2. Are we? Oh man, what are we back to for exchange rate? Are we back up to $1.80 or is it still like $1.60? I know you guys were crashing for a while. Let's see. Adam, let's see. Let's see how old he is. Let's see how old he actually is. He had just turned 18. Okay. Um, that's interesting. So you got one of two outcomes in that case. I thought he had adult sons. Okay. An 18-year-old, that is an actual coin flip. Either he's young, idealistic, and super radical in some way, or he will be, like many young people also are, exceptionally malleable and, will just keep taking the money. Probability is still on the just keep taking the money one. But if he's that young, then actually that also if Kidiov really does die, that brings up the possibility of other like prominent figures trying to assert their own control. But they might try to keep that to like a localized shadow game, not the Yu-Gi-Oh kind. Uh, Thailand and Cambodia, it looks like they have decided to settle down for the time being. They did the prisoner swap where they returned captured soldiers to each other. There weren't that many because the conflict has been light, and the most damage and death came primarily from Thailand bombing Cambodia because Cambodia doesn't really have an air force or any kind of air defense network. But it looks like they are both backing off for the moment. We'll keep an eye on that, see if that changes. Oh, and while we're here at Myanmar, you guys might notice this. This is the latest population pyramid for Myanmar, which Birth Gauge did based on the Myanmar government's retroactively corrected data, where instead of insisting like they previously did that their population kept going up by 400,000 per year and was at 55 million now, they finally admitted that, all those people who've died in the Civil War over the last, the heightened portion of it, okay, it's been indefinite for 50 years, but the extreme portion that's been going on has been going on for since about 2020. The They finally admitted that all those people who've died in the heightened portion over the 2020s, they finally admitted, okay, maybe those people who died are actually dead. And the hundreds of thousands, if not million plus people who fled the country, okay, maybe they really did flee the country. Maybe we'll admit to that now. And you can see here, hopefully, you can see, coincidentally, it looks like about 5 years ago, doesn't it? Something must have happened. You can see this massive sudden indent in the population pyramid where there was some kind of birth rate collapse. I wonder what caused that. It's almost like the entire country fractured into civil war, and also the government started bombing and doing other on the ground mass killings in random cities in fits of rage in response to people trying to revolt. It's almost like doing that collapses your birth rate because people don't have time to do anything regular, let alone make children, when everyone is, moving from one location to another, and then from one country to another and getting sent back and going to another. It's almost like people don't have time to have children while they're doing that, while they're literally spending every day fleeing for their lives, wondering if you're going to bomb them with napalm again. And also, remember, a lot of people in this situation are, despite some people for some reason insisting that they aren't, a lot of people are choosing to not have children because they don't want their children dying to, all the 50-year-old napalm bombs that are getting dropped on them and burning alive. That legitimately is ours, and ours being the US and the British's fault for using so many of those and kind of just leaving them around in the general area, after which they've come into the hands of people like the regime in Myanmar. But they finally admitted to this. So that's one more country on the list of admissions where we finally have gotten the clear hands up, okay, I give in. Uh, I am destroying my own population. Sudan has had a similar effect. They dropped from like 4 down to 3 because of the civil war going on there. The UN automatic algorithm will still insist that they are at like 4.5. They have nosedived because of the civil war over the last 3 years. And Ethiopia insists that there's been no change to their population growth or their birth rates, even though they've been doing things to different minority groups. They are satisfied that they killed enough of the Tigray people, T for Tigray up here. Remember that region had a population of like 6 or 7 million. 2 million died between 2020 and 2022, and that a lot of that was primarily due to starvation and medical supply deprivation, as opposed to directly being killed. But now they're doing it to the Amhara people in this minority area. Pretty soon, I guarantee you, they're going to start doing it to the Afar people in this area. So, but their excuse for the genocide in Tigray has been that, and I'm dead serious, they tongue in cheek half admit to it, but insist it's not as bad because they only killed 600,000 people, not 2 million. Therefore, uh, we should shut up about it. So, oops, hide, then unhide to restore. But Ethiopia has insisted that all the internal, not ethnic cleansing genocide stuff has had no real effect on its population and fertility rate, as has everyone been constantly insisting every time they do something. Like Russia still insisted for like up until just the end of this past year, 2025 now, they still insisted for like 3 or 4 years straight that their fertility rate remained unchanged. It was exactly 1.43. Then all of a sudden, they kind of were like, okay, We're not going to actually officially release any data because that's classified, but maybe we'll partially kind of admit that maybe it went down a little bit. Uh, Not because of anything we're doing, but and not by that much, but maybe it went down to 1.37. Okay. Chat. Yes, check chat. Uh, when the money runs, I mean, that depends though, because it's all an internal like circle jerk now. So they're just the Russian government is ordering the banks to print money, and then the banks give the Russian government money as a loan, and then uh, the uh, the Russian government spends some of that money to then keep the system going. And theoretically, you should be in a runaway inflation cycle with that, but they do have a stop measure in place of just heavy bootedly saying, don't let the hyperinflation happen. And so the system is going to keep pretending like it's not there until it stops pretending, which actually has kind of been the repeating pattern for the various Russian collapses over time. Not this specific financial arrangement, but the whole everything freezes as is and then just suddenly blows out all at once, as seems to be the repeating pattern. There's, let's see, we had some strikes. Uh, had strike on the refinery at Samara. We had a strike on the refinery at Tuapse, which is, I don't know if that's the one down there or the one up here, but that one, again, with the draw some clock hands. Yeah, clock hands, then a circle around. Again, with the clockwork rotation of hitting these and then waiting for the repairs to either be almost done or, in the case of the Tuapse one, done. And they actually managed to get a hold of and replace the one of the whole setups with like a bunch of newer, modern refining equipment. And then that particular segment is what was hit and blew up in the drone strike. Uh, some storage depots also. There was one other refinery. Where was it? Which one was it? Let's see. That is protests in Iran. Novokoybishchevsk. Oh, that's the Samara one. Just say Samara. Don't make me say Novoshoybikhev. Novoshoybikevsk. Don't make me actually say that. Uh, oh yeah, Moscow blackouts. We're entering the fun zone now. We're in Chuck E. Cheese. So Ukraine's actually started repeatedly drone striking power substations, distribution systems in the Moscow region on a now regular basis. So you're getting, with the exception of some emergency and battery lighting stuff, you're getting blackouts in Russia or in the Moscow area. Was that? No, that's not the blackouts. That is, oh yeah, one of the natural gas pipelines was hit. You can see it here. The bright, lengthy flash like that is not a nuke. That is what you get when you hit a pipeline full of methane, and the emergency cutoff system actually works and cuts it off. Where was the other blackout stuff? Iran. Ooh, here's a good one. Yeah, it was a nice. I think it was two. It was 2 or 3 nights long, 600,000 person blackout in Moscow, not in immediate surrounding regions, but in like Moscow itself. Not unfortunately in the city. Like if you come down here to the where is it? Yeah, there's the ring of highway systems. Not like in the city, but in like the city. Because there's different levels to Moscow apparently. There's the city, like what you see on tourist pictures, or the inner city, I guess you could say. There's the city, and then there's the roughly surrounding semi-suburban urban area, which is population-wise what people are usually referring to when they reference the population of Moscow being like 20 million or whatever. Let me wipe something off my screen. I don't know where that came from. And I think that's almost it. Or that might entirely be it. Uh, £2. So that's a little more than $2. That's like $2.50. I'll say that counts for Lithuania. We'll put Lithuania on the. Oops, not black. We want the survivor green. Lithuania. There we go. By decree of Max Ogier, Lithuania will now survive the apocalypse. So far, survivors are Alaska, Angola, Namibia, Kazakhstan, and Lithuania. Everyone else, you're dead. So every $1, and that does include ad revenue and Patreon, monthly Patreon things. Every $1 saves 1 million people. Okay, so also Sweet Kitty Indie is the name of my cat's YouTube channel. And on here you see a couple other videos. There's June in one. There's June in another. So this precious kitty here, June or June, sometimes called her Junie Dum Dum because she wasn't the brightest. This precious kitty here, you will, by my affirmative demand, remember her forever, or else. The I almost went to prison part of the title is because she's dead. Someone ran her over right in front of me. She was in plain sight. She wasn't hidden. They weren't coming around a corner. And they stopped after doing so. And to like look at what just happened, and they stayed there for a bit, but then they ran off. Which, if they hadn't, I was actually going to, at the very least, harm them to some extent. I legitimately, I don't know what's the stupid Zoomer phrase, no cap. I can't actually tell you to like at what extent I would have stopped, but they ran off. So I don't know who they were or where they are now. But June is dead, and someone is responsible for that death, and I may or may not, if they hadn't run, have been responsible for theirs or some high degree of harm, and I'll not give myself the benefit of the doubt. Uh, I'll assume they probably would have won the fight. I don't have I don't have any belts in anything. The only thing I have on anybody is just like raw strength. I'll let that be one thing I'll give myself. Guarantee any one other random dude, unless it's like a CrossFit bodybuilder person, I'm probably stronger than any randomly selected dude you pick and throw at me. But uh anti benefit of the doubt, dude probably, I don't know, maybe he's a SEAL, he has 5 black belts or whatever. So maybe I would have been dead for all I know. At if I didn't end up dead, then I would have been in prison. Or technically I'd be in jail until a court date. Then I'd be in prison. But yeah, that's the thing that happened. Uh, okay, it does not look like I missed anything else. But this is my cat's channel. I have more stuff I need to upload to hers. There are several videos with June and her. The orange cat is her adoptive brother Milo. He was the well-behaved one. She was the crazy, wacky one who had enough stored calories, not in fat, just she conjured them out of nothing. She had enough stored calories to attack and play with any given toy for like 5 straight hours. And she had this you can see it in the thumbnail, this one, or just in the video itself. I think at some point if she stands still, she had a very fluffy hoofa floof neck. Yeah, you can see the poofa floof neck. Oh, there. Oh, I thought he was going to charge her. I think he or she char. Oh, yeah, you can see it here once she climbs up there. Yeah, there's the poofa floof neck blowing in the wind. All right. Unless anything else comes up, I'll give it 30 seconds for the stream response delay. But unless anything else comes up, that's probably going to be it for this one. I told Josh we were on. I'm surprised he didn't show up. Although he's probably being a pro gamer. Is he online? He is not. Oh, I guess he's just dead. Not that kind of dead, but the other kind of dead. Sorry to everyone who apparently showed up like halfway through the stream, but it's recorded, so you can go back to any point you want. Yeah, I give you 13 more seconds. And yes, I promise I'll try to actually finish the Iran water situation update video. I recorded that almost a week ago, still haven't really done anything on it. But uh, forgive me for actually wanting to uh, work on my writing project. For my would be, probably won't exist, but maybe will, indie 2D animated series. Let's see if the monthly update came yet. Nope, still on the August data. All right, looks like we're past the delay limit, so that's it.